Hi, I'm Jeff McErlain, and welcome to this series of videos I'm doing on guitar tones and options and pedals and things like that. General questions that I get asked quite a bit. One of the main questions I get asked is, what kind of guitar should I get? Should I get a Telecaster style guitar, a Stratocaster, or a Les Paul kind of guitar? So what I'm going to do is just run through really quickly the pluses, and I would say maybe minuses, if there are any, to each guitar. So the first one, let's check out a Telecaster style guitar. Originally, of course, created by Fender in the 50s. And the idea that Leo Fender wanted was a guitar that the parts could be interchanged, like a working man's guitar. And the Telecaster, to me, is one of the simplest guitars out there, in the sense of there's no tremolo, it's just a bolt-on neck on a body, and that's one of the real beauties of the guitar. They're very organic sounding guitars because it's basically strings, wood, and a neck, right? So let's hear what a Tele sounds like first. A little bit of gain on. It's really kind of, you hear a lot in country music. And what we can do is go through the three sets of pickups, or the two pickups, the three positions. Here we have the bridge pickup. And what a pickup does is it picks up the vibration of the string at a certain spot. So right here, we're going to pick up the vibration of the string closest to the bridge. So it's going to be the most bright position. So what happens now is when we go into the middle position, we're going to use the two pickups together and get this out of phase position. That's really synonymous with the Tele. And then a neck pickup, what that does is it picks up the vibration of the string closest to the neck, where it's going to be the warmest. And if you were to pluck your string down by the bridge, it would sound brighter and it would sound a little fuller up here. So that's where the pickup picks up the vibration of the string. So now the bridge. Now the two pickups. All right, so that's a good kind of general take on the guitar. We have two controls. One is a volume control for the volume of the pickups, and here's a tone control that controls both the tones, the tone of both the pickups. So if I roll back the tone, it just darkens up. And that's kind of a big thing for kind of Tele tricks. That kind of stuff, rolling a tone knob up. So Telecasters, what I really love about them is I love the sound of them, but I love that they're very stable guitars. They're very basic and very simple. The strings load from the back of the guitar. It's a bolt-on neck, so it's a very strong guitar. In other words, you can travel with it really easily, as all Fender style guitars you can do. I also like the simplicity of the instrument, and a lot of my friends who are Tele guys like that as well. Just the three pickups. It's a very direct sounding guitar. And what I mean by that is just, you've got this bridge that sits right here, and the strings go through the back, and you have the string, and you have the neck. And of course, there's, you want it to be a guitar and on the wood and all those things. But in terms of an actual guitar, they're very basic and very simple. And that's a real beauty about a Telecaster. Okay, next up we have the legendary Stratocaster. Now, this one is made by Michael Tuttle. There's lots of great builders who build Stratocaster style guitars, but the construction is the same. Here we have three single coil pickups as opposed to two that we have on the Telecaster. The body shape is different, but the main thing besides the pickups that is different is the bridge. Now this one goes to the back. It's tremolo, so the strings go through back here, and they only really touch the body at the screws right here. So this is a free floating bridge. So what that means is I can pull the bar in either direction. So I can get these nice kind of vibrato sounds. That kind of thing. Now if it's flush against the body, in other words, if I tighten these screws all the way into the guitar, this will come back and rest against the body, and then it doesn't move. I love the free floating bridge, and one of my favorite things about playing a Stratocaster is that I can get the vibrato like that. Like guys like David Gilmour and Jeff Beck use that quite a bit. Now, the Strat has the three pickups. So let's go through the sounds. and I have 5 different options with the standard 5-way switch you can find on a Stratocaster. So here's a very classic neck. You know, if you're a Hendrix guy or John Mayer or like Doyle Bramhall II, you're going to want a Stratocaster. Now here we have the 4th position. It's these 2 pickups together, or some people call it the 2nd position. It's these 2 pickups together. Often kind of thought about it as like a little more quacky. Now, sorry about the bad note there. Now, here to me is the secret weapon pickup on a Strat. I overlooked it for many, many years, but I realized that Hendrix played a lot on the middle pickup, and Stevie Ray Vaughan played quite a bit on the middle pickup. And it gets this really cool... I'm gonna get a little more gain. Okay, now, these 2 pickups is that kind of Mark Knopfler sound. Right? So that really, once again, a quacky sort of sound. All right, now the bridge is well known for, I'm going to roll back the gain here. A little sharper sound, like the Telecaster. I think the Telecaster, if you're talking about straight Telecasters, are a little more powerful in the bridge than a Stratocaster. I know people will sometimes argue this. Yes, you can put a higher output pickup and all these sorts of things like that. But due to the construction of the Telecaster and the kind of saddles and the bridge it uses, it's generally a little more oomph in the bridge than a stock Stratocaster. I'm going to turn up that gain a bit. So between these 2, what would I recommend to a student right off the bat? I would say, who do you like to listen to? Like if you're, like I said, a fan of David Gilmour and Jeff Beck and Stratocaster playing guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan, I would lean towards the Stratocaster. Telecasters, apart from the country sound, if we're not talking about that, they can be a little bit more utilitarian in the sense of you can play jazz. You can play jazz on both of them. But Telecasters, you don't have the bridge to deal with. It's a little bit of a cleaner instrument in a way. People are going to argue with me in this stuff, but I love both. To me, they're both tools, which is ultimately what this comes down to. But we're talking about if you're going to go out and grab your first guitar, to me it's the one, what do I think about when I think about my favorite guitar players? What guitar are they playing? And that's the one I would go check out. So here we go. That's the sound difference between a Strat and a Tele. Now let's check out a Gibson Les Paul. Okay, here we have a Gibson Les Paul. Now the first thing we can notice, obviously, is the construction is different. And we have humbucking pickups. Now what humbucker pickups are, is it's almost like having 2 single coils. Well, it is actually having 2 single coil pickups together. And they're wired such that they cancel the hum that you would get with a standard single coil guitar like a Telecaster. They also sound different. Do I prefer the sound of humbuckers or single coils? They are 2 different things. It's apples and oranges in a lot of ways to me. So I love humbuckers and I love single coils. Now, another thing that's really very different about a Gibson, well, let's hear it first. So here we got the bridge pickup. A bigger sounding guitar. More mid-range. I think about, Jimmy Page and Billy Gibbons playing a Les Paul, and that's the sound that I love. Peter Green, all my favorite guitar players, and Eric Clapton, when he was playing Gibsons, is some of my favorite guitar sounds in the world. Now, what I actually had to do was dial back the gain a little bit on the amplifier, because these are a little bit higher output than the single coils that I have in these guitars. I like vintage style output pickups. I don't like high gain stuff. This is the style of music I play. If you play metal, maybe high gain. So here are the 3 basic sounds on a Les Paul. I say basic because there's a lot to talk about. So I have the bridge. Now the neck pickup, a lot thicker. Now you can get that, especially when you're in tune. So that's the neck pickup on a Les Paul. It's a little woollier. And you could, what I look for when I'm choosing a Les Paul is a one that isn't too woolly in the neck. What I mean by woolly is that kind of, kind of sound. And it's a bit of a challenge to find on a Les Paul. When you find a good one, you hold on to it for that reason. And what makes a good one? Well, I usually listen for guitars that are resonant. When I play them, they kind of vibrate in my body and they sound good acoustically. That's the first thing. Whenever I'm picking out a guitar and choosing a guitar, I play it acoustically first. I don't plug it into anything. That's the first thing. If I feel like the guitar is moving and the wood is breathing and vibrating with the strings, then that's your first step in knowing that it's a good guitar. Now the fun thing about Les Pauls, I can combine the two pickups, and I've got 2 volumes and 2 tones, which I don't have at a Strat or a Tele, and I can blend the two, which is really nice. So I could add a little more treble, a little more bass. And any Jimmy Page fans out there realize that if you watch those videos, he often has a guitar right in the middle on the pickups. But I'll do another video specifically on things that you can do on each of these guitars. Now, that's like the Les Paul guitar sound. Now, a few things that are really practical things about Gibson style guitars and Fender styles. Gibsons are much more delicate instruments, and that's something that really should be considered when purchasing a guitar, or if you're looking for your first guitar, things like that, or what your plans are. When I travel, I generally lean towards Fender style guitars because the neck is made out of maple, and there's no neck angle straight. So this is like hard as a rock. It's like a baseball bat. Can they break? Sure, but it takes a lot to break a Fender, like a lot. So if I have to go an overhead on a plane, I could just put this in a gig bag, and if they make me check it, I'm not worried. I prefer not to, but I'm not going to have the same anxiety attacks I'll have about checking a Gibson. Here's the reason why. First of all, the guitar is made out of mahogany, which is a softer wood than maple. The neck is also made out of mahogany, and it's glued in. So you can't really replace the neck on this very easily. I guess you could, but it's a lot of work and very expensive. And also, the neck is made out of mahogany. Like I said, it's a softer wood, so it's more susceptible to breaking. Also, this neck angle, right? If a guitar takes a hit, this can break. And there's been lots and lots of broken headstocks on Gibsons. Believe me. And when you see guys like Joe Bonamassa post, he flies. Obviously, he's got the 59s and all those old ones. He flies with them next to him and on a seat. I have yet to have a broken headstock on a Gibson, but as a friend of mine said, my guitar repair guy, it's just a matter of time. So if you're traveling a lot with a Gibson style guitar, there's things to take into account. I would not put it in an inexpensive gig bag. I would really not recommend gig bags because they can take a blow. So that is a very practical thing to think about when purchasing a guitar, especially when guitars get expensive, and you want to get a good one, and there's lots of investment to be thought about and how to spend your money wisely. So just to kind of do a recap of everything, if I were to kind of run through everything, Les Pauls are usually the most expensive due to the construction, and they are the most delicate. So if you're going to travel a lot, or if you want a guitar that you can just throw around with you, I would get a Fender style guitar first. Now there are companies that make hybrids, a different size neck, like different kind of the mixture of the two. I'm just talking about the classics here. Les Paul is kind of the fullest sounding of all of them. Now, once again, if I think about my favorite rock guitar players who played Les Paul, certainly the first person that comes to my mind through the way I listen to music is Jimmy Page and all those great tunes and the live records especially. Peter Green, Clapton, playing 335s and SGs. Now I'm going to put those in the same category. There are differences in sounds. There are subtle depending on how you hear these things. I hear a big difference between an SG and a Les Paul, but they're in the same kind of category. Just as the difference between a Tele and a Strat, there's a sound difference, but they kind of live in the same family. So these are decisions that you would have to make, and I highly recommend you go to a music store and play around with them. But look at your favorite guitar players, What are your favorite guitar sounds? What guitar are they playing? And know that things like Gibsons have their pluses and minuses. They're more expensive. They can be damaged more easily, but nothing sounds like a Les Paul. Just that's the deal. Nothing sounds like a Telecaster. Nothing sounds like a Stratocaster. So, but like I said, my little word of advice: if somebody's just running out, I want my first guitar, I want an electric guitar, I don't really have an opinion, I would say I would lean towards a Telecaster. It's the easiest guitar, stays in tune great, and they're less expensive than a upper end Gibson. So, if you have any questions, please add below. Everybody's got opinions on these things. So you may say, I think you're totally wrong on something. Then great. Have fun. It's music. It's not world politics. It's just guitar. And whatever you like is what you like. And whatever you think sounds good, sounds good. So until the next time, have fun and enjoy playing the guitar.